One Friday Fights 46 Tawanchai versus Superbon is finally upon us, and now it's time for me to break down the major fights on the card. First of all, I'm going to go over the preliminary card, some of the major fights on that one. It's going to be great to see Craig Coakley finally make his debut. For those that don't know, he won a tournament in the UK and is finally going over to face Subak, who is a very underrated fighter who's coming off of a win. Pet Sukumfet is finally coming back against John Uri. That should be a fantastic one. And then there's a big bantamweight contest between Kulabdam and Freya Amnapur. Amnapur has been going insane this year, gotten 4 great wins, 3 of them in Muay Thai, and he's taken out a lot of those Thai competitors. Meanwhile, Kulabdam is almost like the last of the guard, especially with Sam Pick falling last time. He's really him and Nong-O, who are still at the top of the division, and both of them are really going to have to defend their spots. Otherwise, the top of the division is going to be ruled by non-Thais. The boxing exchanges in that fight is going to be insane. Amnapur has really good hands, but at the same time, he is hittable, and Kulabdam has a lot of power out there. I do believe that Kulabdam has the most significant one-punch knockout power out of anyone that Amnapur has faced. I am going to lean Amnapur, though, because his boxing fundamentals are so wild, and I do believe that he'll have a lot of success going to the body, but he is going to have to watch out for that uppercut as the fight progresses. Then there's Monai, who is going to be going down to flyweight and taking on Nill Anain. I do think it is kind of unfortunate that Monai is going down to escape all of those weight bullies at bantamweight, and then they're giving him the tallest flyweight in the division. Very rough form, but this one is going to be insane. There's no way this fight goes to a decision. Both these guys are very hittable and can exploit each other's weaknesses. Monai has beautiful body shots, and that's what he's going to need to lean into for this fight. Meanwhile, Nill has crazy knockout power, as we saw in his last fight against Nakarab Fairtex. I do believe that he can connect a lot of Monai, because Monai just gets way too crazy and wild out there. It's going to be very back and forth and competitive. I am going to lean Nill because that style is just so difficult to go up against, and I don't think Monai is going to be able to really deal with it that well. I could see maybe Monai damaging him to the body, but Nill being able to catch him while Monai gets a little aggressive. Going to the main fight card, Saxon is back taking on River Daz. This one should be explosive. I do think that Saxon should win this with another just dominant performance. However, River Daz does have power in his hands. I could see him hurting him and actually dropping him. However, I just do not have much confidence in Daz. This is going to be his biggest fight on this big stage. And in his first fight, he really looked out of place there. And fighting a guy like Saxon, who's always going to be in your face, throwing elbows, giving you that wild style of his, is going to give River a lot of problems, though I could definitely see River catching him, but I am going to have Saxon via decision. And then Nong-O is making his long-awaited return against Nico Carrillo. This one is more than likely going to be a title eliminator, and Nico Carrillo is coming off of 2 exceptional wins over Nong Tai and Furkan Ozcan. He has insane knockout power, and he essentially is one of those bantamweights that is a featherweight who's just cutting down, being an insane weight bully. And this one's going to be really tough for Nong-O. Technically speaking, I do think that Nong-O is better at almost every aspect of the game. However, that size advantage is just going to mean that Nico really only needs to land about 1 punch, and this fight's going to be over. And then you have to take into account all of these other factors. Nong-O just got knocked out badly about 6 months ago. That was the first time in a very long time he's had a knockout that bad. He's also very old, a lot older at 37, so he might not be able to recover at that same speed. He got very sick a few months ago, so that could also affect his conditioning out there. And Nico, even though he might be losing the fight, he just needs to land 1 punch. I think that will be enough for him to win. And because of that, I actually am going to lean with Nico here. I just do not trust Nong-O's chin. I think he's just a little too old. I don't know how well he's going to recover from that knockout, so I will have Nico winning. I think he gets a third round TKO. Nong-O might be winning the first 2 rounds. It might be similar to his fight with Jonathan Haggerty, landing solid leg kicks, being able to work the body well. But Nico is going to get desperate and then start to land in the third and hurt Nong-O and get a late finish. The first of 3 big title fights as Pajit takes on Anissa Meksen for the interim women's atomweight kickboxing title. Anissa is finally back in kickboxing. It's been over 2 years since she KO'd Christina Moraes back in One in Power. She's finally going to be back in those kickboxing gloves. And Pajit has been knocking out everybody this year, going on an insane win streak of 4 wins, last beating Celeste 2 months ago. And I'm going to have to go with Anissa for this one. I just do not trust Pajit in those kickboxing gloves. Her only losses in recent memory have been to kickboxers and kickboxing, and they have not been on the same level as Anissa Mexen. I do believe that Anissa is the best kickboxer on the planet. She beat Tiffany Van Soest multiple times, and she just is far more technical. The problem that I might have with her is that sometimes she does make fights closer than they need to be, and she is significantly older. She hasn't fought in about 13 months, and that could spell ring rust. And Paji might be someone who be able to put her out continuously on the back foot, give her an aggressive style that she's not very used to fighting. However, at that same time, that is going to leave Paji open to a lot of counters from her, especially that lethal left hook that Anissa loves to throw. So I am going to have Anissa winning this one. I could see her finishing Paji because Paji might get desperate out there, emotional because she is fighting in front of her home ties. However, she is a very tough woman to finish, so I will have her Anissa taking a decision after outpointing Paji for all 5 rounds. Moving on to the co-main event, Joseph Lasiri in a rematch with Prajanchai PK Sanchay. I think that Prajanchai is going to run through Lasiri here. The problem is Lasiri has been out again for like 13 months, and his mindset, I don't trust it at all. Chatri said that he wanted to retire after beating Prajanchai, and he wasn't really certain if he ever wanted to compete again. You have that, and then you also have the fact that he went up to flyweight and got butchered by Rodtang. And then those later rounds, you saw that Lasiri was essentially just broken, refusing to throw, not really having that same offense that we saw before. And I think after all this time off, after getting injured, after being beaten so badly by Rodtang, he's not going to have that same style that he once had. That championship mentality is not going to really be there. He already is the champion. He's had his celebrations. Meanwhile, Prajanchai has had an insane run this year, very active, beating high-level guys. And he does very well in rematches, just looking at how he did against Kompech, against Sammy Gyeong-Gadao. He's just lethal on those 4-ounce gloves. And I think that Lasiri, there is going to be a lot of intimidation going into this. How he's seeing how Prajanchai is performing, that is going to worry him. So I think that Prajanchai is going to win this. Actually, I'm going to say that Prajanchai gets a decision here. Lasiri is way too tough. If Rodtang couldn't finish him, I don't believe that Prajanchai will be. But I think that Prajanchai will score a decisive decision win here and get vindication from it the time that he quit on the stool in the first fight. Finally, the main event of the evening, Tawanchai PK Sanchay versus Superbon. This fight is going to be very close. It's going to be a chess match. I think it's about 50-50 on who's going to win. I keep switching back and forth. When I initially made my predictions video, I gave it to Superbon, and I actually switched back while I was thinking about this fight. The more I started to think that Tawanchai should probably be able to win this. He is younger, has more experience in Muay Thai. However, I have to make all these different factors into account. And you have the fact that Tawanchai has essentially been in a training camp for the last 6 months, fighting David Kiri and then taking Smokin' Jonyata on short notice. Originally was scheduled for 2 weeks earlier on that prime card, then had to pull out with sickness. All of that time is going to accumulate for me. And I do believe that something that small could contribute to the fight factors. And then you have to take into account the fact that Tawanchai was sick about 6 weeks ago. And that is just not a very good sign when he's about to take on perhaps the toughest fight of his career and one thus far. I think that Superbon is going to be able to exploit the same tricks that Sanchay was able to, working the body, using that catch and counter technique to constantly be able to nullify a lot of what Tawanchai does out there. He's going to slow him down in later rounds and being able to slowly but surely get his timing down and outpoint him to a decision. This fight is going to be very close. It is a difficult one to predict, but I do believe that Superbon should be able to use his experience for the better. This is his last shot. He is older. This is his last couple of years of his prime. Tawanchai is still very young, has a lot to learn. So I think Superbon is going to be able to get the win here and get a decision win. With that, guys, that is the end of my predictions. The fight of the night that I'm most looking forward to is definitely going to be that main event. It's just so close, and it should be such an exciting chess match. And the fighter to look out for on the card, I'll go with Freya Amnapur. He's looked sensational this year so far, and I think that another win here will prop him up into the top of the division. Again, guys, thank you for watching. This has been Shared TV Productions. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'm out.